Now to Norway, where police have named the man they are holding on suspicion of killing 5 people with a bow and arrow. He is Espen Andersen Bratton, a 37-year-old Dane living in Kongsberg, where the attack took place. Norway's security services are treating the attacks as an act of terrorism, but a motive has yet to be determined. Bratton was known to police, had converted to Islam and had showed signs of radicalization. Witnesses of Wednesday's attack spoke of a man standing on a corner with arrows and a quiver on his shoulder and a bow in his hand. Images on social media show arrows stuck in the walls of wooden houses. People ran for their lives as police blocked off the scene. The victims were all aged between 50 and 70. Bratton is due in court tomorrow.
From what we know now, it is reasonably clear that some of them, probably all of them, were killed after the police were in contact with the perpetrator for the first time at 6:18 p.m. As you mentioned earlier, we are investigating this, among other things, to clarify whether it is an act of terrorism. It will probably take some time before it can be finally clarified. The assessment related to motive is a bit complicated, but it is natural to go back and see what information we have on the person from earlier. And then we can see whether there has been a concern related to radicalisation in the past, which we think it is natural to be open about without being able to explain the details of it now.
Well, our ICE correspondent Lape Olarinoye has been monitoring developments in Norway and she joins me now. Good to see you, Lape. What's the latest on that attack? Is there any clarity yet or are the details still scant?
Good evening to you, Charles. Well, at the current time I'm speaking to you, the details of the charges, should I say, is still quite scant. We know that the suspect was questioned for a number of hours overnight, where he then confessed to the terror attack, what's been described as a terror attack, should I say. But there are still details of what motivated the attack. We're still waiting for that information from the Norwegian police. They've said that they are still deciding whether or not this is being treated as a mental health attack or alternatively as a terror attack. And that's because of the background and information that they have already about the suspect.
And we understand that a number of people obviously were injured, as well as the 5 who were killed. Have any details been released about who these victims were, or whether they were just sort of shot at indiscriminately?
Well, currently it's still indiscriminate, but what we do know is that they are between the ages of 50 to 70, of which out of that number, 4 happen to be women. One is also one of the victims that is currently in intensive care, is actually an off-duty police officer that was also shot at when this terrible attack took place. So far, there is still not that much information available on those sad victims, but actually just the state at which they are. 2 people still remain in intensive care, one of them being that off-duty police officer.
And this is happening in the middle of a transition for a new Norwegian government, which is coming in today, but no suggestion of a political motive linked to that.
Well, Norway is no stranger to politically motivated attacks. They've had a series, 2 attacks in the past where they've been motivated by far-right extremists. Notably, the one that took place in 2019, where a far-right extremist went into a mosque and shot at people, but luckily he was overpowered. And of course, this attack comes after the horrid attack that took place back in 2011, where 77 people were killed, majority of them children. So at this moment in time, there is no inclination as to whether it's politically motivated, but there seems to be an underbelly of politically motivated attacks in Norway.
Lape, thanks ever so much. Lape Olarinoye, our correspondent there, talking to me about developments in Norway.